All right, Sag. So, for some of you, I feel like it's not bad. You did what you needed to do in order to keep peace in your life. And for a lot of you, that's going to be needing to protect yourself. Now, for some of you, you're still needing to do that now and needing to continue to set boundaries with people in order to continue the peace. So, wisdom of the oracle piece, and then from Hidden Realms, the Metal King, discipline, armor, and boundaries. And this did show up as an ally. What I worry about for some of you is if you're so used to keeping the armor on in order to maintain peace, what are you keeping out of your life because of this? I kind of get the feeling of isolation, but that's only for some of you. Now, peace, though, this one's very nice. It says it doesn't get any better than this. A quiet mind, a heart fulfilled, freedom from want, and the soul's satisfaction. The way to peace is through radical acceptance. Everything in your world is exactly as it should be. Harmony is beautiful. Enjoy it. So that's not bad. It's the Metal King that kind of throws me off. Now, again, this one is talking about needing to set some healthy boundaries. It says when you do, no matter how uncomfortable the task may be, everyone will benefit. This one is saying to make sure that you know where you end and another begins. Others' emotions are not yours, no matter how empathetic you may be. And then, of course, it talks about needing to have a healthy sense of self-esteem, right? And it's time to shine and be proud of what you've accomplished, which is perfect. All right, Sag, here's your overall. The Page of Wands, not bad. So for some of you, exciting news. Getting ready to do something new here. But there's that enthusiasm and excitement with the Page of Wands. You may be doing something that you don't have a lot of experience with, but I feel like for a lot of you, this is going to be something that you've been waiting to hear. And it's going to help you kind of move forward on something that you may have been wanting to do. But I like it. Oh boy. So in the past, death. And, that's a good thing, especially with the Page of Wands being there, because, now that's over and done with. I don't feel like this is something that, you're looking at and you're going, oh, I can't turn back. I can't go back. Yeah, when death shows up, you can't go back. But, this is the Phoenix, right? You've gone through a situation that absolutely came to an end, but it changed you. But it changed you in a way that's opening the door for better things with the Page of Wands being there. And you have every right to be excited and enthusiastic. I see that as a good thing. For some of you, it may have been a difficult end or a difficult change, but we're not looking at like the Ten of Wands or the Ten of Swords here. I think that this was something that you needed to go through. Whatever it is, it changed you, but all the possibilities are open now. But once a situation is over with, I think that this is where this starts to come into play, where you're hearing what you've been waiting for. In the present, the King of Wands, yes. I love the King of Wands. My problem with him, though, is follow through, right? Needing to follow through. But you changing into the King of Wands or a better version of yourself is exactly what you should be doing. Whether you're male or female here, the King of Wands is perfect. Now, for some of you, you could be dealing with another person here. It could be another fire sign, male, female, I don't care. But either way, everything looks good. Whatever it was that needed to end in the past, was perfect for you. Like, it's over, it's done with, I get to be reborn. And everything is like brand new now. Jeez, future condition strength. And I like it. And to me, it's not that you need to continue to pull on the inner reserve here, but to have the strength to be enthusiastic about what's ahead. That's basically that. And all of it looks good. All of it looks really good. Death is not an easy thing. Going through the death cycle is not an easy thing. But for you, it was like much needed, I feel like. Oh, your best path to follow. All right, the Page of Swords. Now, if this is going to have to do with communication coming through that, you've been waiting on, like that, or We're talking about you needing to communicate that you're ready now, that you're ready to do something, because you may have had to end something in the past here. When you're looking at the Page of Swords, there needs to be a little bit more clarity in communication. You know, I don't think that this is about you. I think that, you know, if you've waited to communicate to someone, like waited until you were ready, they may have a lot of questions for you with the Page of Swords. And I would say with this one, don't withhold any information. Now, you know, on the other hand here, if this is about, you know, communication that you've been waiting for, I would ask questions. The Page of Swords, to me, especially when you're talking about dealing with another person here, this is somebody that doesn't know how to process the information that they have. Okay, because it's a naive energy. They could use this information any which way they choose. You know, but this is the need for more information, more understanding. If you're going to communicate, you need to be truthful about everything. Especially if you've waited to communicate here because you had to finish something off. You have to be upfront about that. Whatever it was, whatever in the past you need to like complete. You know, or whatever in the past you were waiting for to be over with, right? Because you may be, somebody may be asking you some questions about it, is kind of what I feel like there. You know, and you're going to have to here find the strength to say what needs to be said, you know, and be forthright and upfront. But then, you know, also for some of you, you're going to have to go ahead and go and do something new, despite the fact that you may not have all the information that you need. You know, I mean, it's one or the other here, but I don't really feel bad about it. It's just that this is all new happening for you. You know, and like I said, whether you're dealing with a person here or we're talking about the King of Wands, it's still, to me, I feel like it's a good thing. All right, the Seven of Cups. And this is what I'm talking about, especially, you know, for you with the King of Wands. Okay, so this to me looks like you have had to wait for something in the past to complete out or be done with, right? It was difficult. You wanted it to be over with. I think it needed to be over with here, but it definitely does change you, and it opens the door for you now to go ahead and take a path that I don't think that you thought that you were going to be able to do. With the Seven of Cups, this one, especially to me, is like, how do we get to here? How do we get from here to here? You know, it's not necessarily about options here, but it's about all the things that you've been like fantasizing about doing, and now the door is open. You know, but are you moving forward? Are you finding the strength to move forward, right? And I think that for a lot of you, you may not know. Like, you may not know the information that you need to get started. That may not all be there, but I feel like, you know, over time, you're going to have the information that you need. But that to me just looks like, you know, I get to do what I fantasized about. What do I do now? You know? And with Strength and the Page of Wands, I still feel like you're headed in the right spot. You know? And whatever it was in the past that's over with, it prevented you from realizing what you were wanting to do. Your hopes and your fears, the Four of Swords. And this is you needing to take action, right? Now, the fear would be that, you know, you're comfortable where you're at. That's kind of what I feel like looking at this. With the Four of Swords, they're talking about, you know, taking a break, needing to reflect on things here. For some of you, it may be that you're fearing that communication is not going to be returned to you, especially if you are the one that's been waiting to open up and say something, you know. But you're still going to have to find the strength to speak up, or you're still going to have to find the strength here to start taking some action, you know, because everything is wide open right now. You know, it's not often that you see situations where people get to live out their fantasies. You know, sometimes we become content with thinking about what could be, but then when the opportunity shows up, you know, it's kind of like, oh, well, I didn't know that this was possible. What the hell do I do now? You know, well, you're going to have to act. You're going to have to open up. You're going to have to say something, do something here. You know, but the fear there, like I said, would be that you don't have like the return communication. right? Like, you're not going to be able to do this, that it's just all in your head, but it's not, you know, like it's not. I don't feel like it is. And then coming out the Seven of Swords. What is it? What is it? Like, I don't understand. Now, like I said, for some of you, this is going to be about you needing to ask more questions, because clearly here things are being kept hidden, intentions are not clear, you know. And the thing is the Page of Wands is there. That's great. I don't think that somebody is just telling you what you want to hear. I do think that you're getting the communication that you want. That's going to open the door here for you to realize something you've been fantasizing about. But, you know, why is everything like, you know, why is it that, you know, you're still like hiding things, you know, or is it somebody else that's hiding something from you, you know? And again, right, like I go back to this and I don't feel bad about it. Like I feel like looking at the Page of Swords, that whatever is, you know, being kept, you know, with the Seven of Swords, the truth eventually comes out, right? Now, it could just be that you're not wanting to tell anybody what you're doing now, you know? All that in the past is over with. It's done with. You know, I'm doing me. Like, I don't need to communicate with you. I don't need to tell you anything. But I look at this and I think, you know, it's not that big of a deal. Why didn't you just tell me? Like, that's what I get from this combination. I don't think that, you know, there's any reason to hide anything. All right. Now, with the Two of Wands, like I said, something in the past was preventing you from moving forward on something that you may have been planning, and then it just became like a fantasy that you thought was never going to be realized. Well, guess what? It's here, right? Like, you're going to have to follow through on those plans now with Judgment, you know, and then looking at Death and the King of Wands. It's a brand new you, right? I mean, even if you are dealing with a person here, it's like, okay, let's go. And it's like, what? Wait a minute, right? You know, in Judgment, things being resurrected for you in a good way, but then definitely the things from the past being laid to rest. You know, in having to review what you had fantasized about doing and looking at it differently, and not looking at it like it's not possible, that there is a way to, you know, those castles in the sky, so to speak. With the Knight of Pentacles, things are just moving slowly. You know, and with the Seven of Swords, again, I don't feel like, you know, this is intentional deception. I just think that that information will come a little bit by little bit, you know, especially if this is you needing information from another person. Now, as far as you, it's just that, you know, eventually everything that you're needing to reveal will come out, you know. But either way, the communication is exciting, right? And with the Page of Wands, there's enthusiasm about moving forward here, about something that you wanted to do to begin with. It's good. It's good. I like it. You know, I like that you're having this opportunity now to realize something that you thought was only, you know, fantasy. And then break free. Yeah. You know, but I don't think that you're wanting to, like, just and go. Like, I feel with the Knight of Pentacles that things are going to move slowly. They're progressing in the right direction. But I feel like, you know, for you, it's like just, you know, you could go and take off down this path here with the Page of Wands, but with the Knight of Pentacles, I feel like, you know, you're trying to learn through the process though too. You know, it's almost like learning from the experience, but then like needing to kind of savor it as you go, which is why some of you may kind of be withholding and letting a little bit out here and there, you know, but eventually everything comes out anyway. But break free, right? Break free of the past. It is what it is. Acceptance. Open up your heart, you know, find that strength, find the strength to take that new path. I like it. Wandering path, enjoy the journey and infinite abundance. Yes, abundance is pouring into your life. Not bad. So the wandering path, right? Our paths are never straight. You know, there's always going to be the twists and turns and stuff, but it's saying just enjoy it, right? Like, the big thing with this deck is that You know, the journey is what's more important, not necessarily getting to the destination. But infinite abundance. So the path is going to eventually wind into this place where you get to see all of this abundance happening in your life. I like it, you know, especially with the Knight of Pentacles, you know, right? Slow and steady. I think the hare is probably, or the turtle is better than the hare. My goodness, if I could talk right, because I'm looking at that Page of Wands going, yeah, I could see you wanting to, like, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go, 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 go. But the Knight of Pentacles would be the right response for this. But it's not bad, Sag. But there does need to either be more forthright communication and more disclosure, so to speak, with the Page of Swords. Or you're going to have to ask questions in order to get that information. But where you're going is a hell of a lot better than where you've been, right? Like I get the big feeling here that with death in the past, that whatever it was a good thing for you that it came to an end.